All right. Hi, everybody. This is the yoga panel with Jennifer and Robin, and my name is Megan. I'll be moderating, and we're really excited to have you all here today. We're going to go ahead and get started by having our panel introduce themselves. Jennifer, do you want to go ahead and tell us a little about yourself, and then we'll hear from Robin?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jen O'Donnell. I live in Connecticut with my husband and my 3 kids, and I have been an avid yogi practicer for 16, 17 years now. I love it. I love practicing, and I've recently started using the oils in my own practice, and now I've been sharing it with different yoga studios and different instructors that I know. So it's been really, really fun, sort of getting all my loves in one area. So it's been good. It's been really fun. So I'm excited to share with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. We are so happy to have you with us. And Robin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Robin Anderson, and I have been doing yoga since 1968. I train yoga instructors, and I do Thai body work and aroma touch, and I also do something called essential foot therapy that I created for people that I couldn't do aroma touch on, but that could benefit from the aroma touch oils. And I also do personal journey work, I call it. It's like life coaching, but it's my own brand, where I share my stories and they can share as much or as little of theirs as they'd like. And I have had tremendous luck with integrating doTERRA into my practices. It's just been such an easy integration that I'm very happy to pass that on and give any input that I can.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Robin. Well, we're so excited to have you both with us today. So kind of what the outline for our panel today is what we're going to start off with talking about general yoga practices, and then move into how to integrate the oils into your doTERRA business and reach out to other yoga studios and getting them involved as well. So you kind of hit on it a little bit, Robin, but let's go ahead and start talking about, maybe you can tell us, Jennifer or Jen, how your yoga practice has been amplified by the use of essential oils.
So when I started to experiment, I decided first I was experimenting physically, how the oils could help me, with the deep blue and stuff. And then I quickly realized how much more of an emotional level it could hit you. And so for me, yoga is really about finding my zen and finding what I need each practice. So I go into my practice every day and figure out where is my body talking to me? Where is my spirit talking to me emotionally, physically, etc. And then what I do is I sort of alter my practice and use the oils that I need. So whether I'm having negative vibrations, I can go towards that. Maybe I'm having physical stuff, stiffness in my lower back, and I can go to that. And so it's really helped deepen my practice and really getting me much more into a zone of finding what I need. And so I've been sort of trying to pass it on to other people to say, listen to your body. And I think that's what yoga is sort of about, is about finding your space and filling up your love tank and figuring out what you need and creating that space for yourself in your practice, and then, filling it with whatever oils that, that really call for you and that you're looking for.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So Robin, tell us a little bit about how your practice has been amplified by the use of essential oils. I know that you have a lot of history with yoga. How long have you used the oils in your practice?
3.5 years. And I found, everyone was bringing their ailments to me, as Jen was speaking of, mind, body, and spirit. Everyone brings their issues to me and concerns, and I felt limited. Yoga does so much, and it's been such a tremendous part of my life. But there were still things and people that I felt were a little bit out of reach, out of where I could help them. And So when I began integrating the oils, it gave me something to fill in those gaps and to be able to respond to their needs in a greater way. It's made a tremendous difference in my life and in the lives of my students. It's just been so nice to be able to, help them in a better way, a more all-encompassing way.
Totally, absolutely. Well, one of the biggest questions that we get a lot is, what are your top oils in your practice? What ones do you find that are the most beneficial? And we recognize that might be more of a personal, individual response, but for you, what oils do you really like to use in your practice? Jen, do you want to start, and then we'll have Robin?
So there's 3 that are my go-tos. Frankincense is the first one. That's the oil of truth. It really helps me connect spiritually. It lets me let go of any negative vibrations, any spiritual darkness that you might be going through or need to let go of. It really helps with that. And depending on how I'm feeling or what I'm going through, I either diffuse it or I use it in a cat-cow pose into the downward dog. I use it on the back of my neck on that. And that really helps bring out, and connect me spiritually. I also use it for meditation at the end. Sometimes I'll put it on my forehead, on my third eye, or again on the back of my neck, and breathe through it. So emotionally I get connected. Geranium is the other one I love, and that is the oil of love and trust. And it restores confidence. It facilitates trust. It's emotional honesty. And so I like to sometimes put it on my hands and breathe it in at the beginning of my practice, to really sort of open up, again, spiritually thing, or put it on my heart. Or I use it at the end. I'll put it on my hands and breathe it in on my final pose to sort of let go. It's also a good detoxing oil. So, that helps at the end. And then cypress is my third favorite, and that is the motion and flow oil. So it's really connects my energetic flow throughout my body. So it really helps when you're focusing on your chakras and trying to connect your body and mind and spirit. So that's, any stagnant energy that you might be feeling, it helps sort of release that and get going. And so a lot of times the cypress I'll use in the beginning of my class to really set an intention in my practice for that day to sort of uplift any negative or low vibrations. So those are my top 3.
I love it. I love that doTERRA's oils and yoga just work so seamlessly together in achieving that overall goal of connectedness to the body, mind, and spirit. Robin, how about you?
I like to use wild orange for the uplifting, and as the oil of abundance. It helps me to open up to the abundance of the universe in every way. So I think a lot of us limit ourselves and in our lives, and it just is really just uplifting and helpful when people first come in. Especially if they're new, it can help them to relax a bit, where it's good for those times when we feel kind of anxious or sad. And I like to use On Guard for when people during cold and flu season, that kind of thing, and also Breathe. So sometimes I'll give my students an experience of Breathe as they, if they are having upper respiratory issues and that sort of thing. Personally, I like lemongrass for my knees.
Oh, yeah.
But
well, that's perfect. This is kind of a follow-up to that, but as you're doing your practice, how exactly do you incorporate the oils? Do you kind of just put them on before each pose, or before and after the whole experience, or how does that work?
You're asking me? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Robin.
um, I usually diffuse the oils before class to set the atmosphere, and then throughout the class or as people come in, I listen to them, and if they are, if they come in and they're saying, "Oh, I've been so busy, I'm just here, there, and everywhere," then maybe I'll offer them some balance. Or I may, if I already have balance diffusing, I'll point out that that's the oil, so take a deep breath in and that kind of thing. So I kind of listen to their needs, and, if they're having knee issues, I'll offer them some of those, like the lemongrass for the knees, or
Great.
maybe
So it's kind of
blue.
integrated throughout the whole experience, not just before
Yeah.
and after. That's neat. So Jennifer, I know most people watching this may already be familiar with the chakras, but for those of the group that may not be as familiar with what they are and their purpose and what they do, can you explain that just a little bit for any newbies who might be watching?
Sure. So the chakras are 7 chakras, and they're direct links to mental, physical, and spiritual attributes. And you want to try to clear them, because they, if they're not clear, they can cause, disruptions in your life, whether, you get sick, or you're out of balance, or you don't feel good or something. So you really want to be aware of your chakras. And there's 7 of them, like I mentioned. So the first one is the crown. So it's like the top of your head. And that is the ability to fully connect spiritually. Then the second is the third eye, and that's in the middle of the forehead. And that's the ability to focus, make decisions, listen to your intuition, your imagination. So a lot of times you can use oils, a lot of times at the beginning of class, people will use oils here to really have the ability to focus and have the intuition to listen to your body. Throat is the third one. It's usually the center of the throat or the neck. And that's the ability to communicate and speak the truth. Again, it's another great place to incorporate during the class. Heart is obviously the heart region. And that's your ability to love and find inner peace and joy. And, you can always offer that during the class to use it there, or at the end of the class or the beginning of the class to sort of set your intentions, etc. Your solar plexus, that is slightly above your navel. And that is the ability to be confident, to have self-worth, self-esteem. A lot of times during the practice, they'll tell you to sort of focus on that area, to bring in energy to that area. The 6th one is the sacral, and that's like slightly below the navel. And that is the ability to have self-abundance and understanding authentic creation and your sexuality. And again, they will focus that, a lot of times when you're in class, they'll focus on that area to bring energy into that area. And the last one is the root, and that's the base of your spine. And that's really, your grounding and your foundation and feeling secure. And again, if you practice often, you'll hear them talking about, the root and being grounded and, feeling the earth under your feet and feeling it in your body for sort of secureness.
That's beautiful. And it's interesting how the connectedness between the oils and yoga, especially with knowing what the oils do emotionally and physically, and how that works so perfectly with the chakras. So I would love to have each of you share just one or two oils that you really love with each of the chakras. So maybe what I'll do is I'll say the crown, and then if you two each want to tell me what oil you use, and then I'll say the next one, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so the crown. I think I've heard both of you say the same thing on this one, but Jen, how about you? You go first.
I go for frankincense is one of my go-tos for this one. So, and like I said before, that was one of my spiritual stuff. Yeah.
Perfect. How about you, Robin?
I'm right there with her on that one. Frankincense, definitely. And I
Yeah,
build from the base of the spine up. So I began with the root chakra being the first one, and end with the crown.
yeah,
So you
absolutely.
end with the crowns. It's funny. Some instructors go the other way. I just done a class and they went from your top down. So it's funny how different. And I've done both. I've started from my bottom and gone up. It's funny.
That's neat. So kind of what works for each person.
Yeah.
So how about the third eye?
I like clary sage. It's sort of to give clarity and vision into what I'm looking to achieve that practice.
Well, how about you, Robin?
I recently did a essential oils and yoga class, and I used the emotional aromatherapy kit. And so I used console for the third eye, and I had them, that's our chakra of intuition and imagination. So I had them imagine themselves being consoled for any hard times that they had had in their life.
It's a great idea.
That is a great idea. I love the emotion oils and what they can add to this experience. So how about the throat, Jen?
So the throat, again, is for expression and speaking the truth. And I like to do birch for me personally. It's an oil of support. So it helps support you, in your truth, and you're communicating from your truth and your good place, whatever.
Absolutely. How about you, Robin?
For that one, I used peace, because I thought, sometimes people think speaking their truth means being brutally honest. But when you really speak your truth, you speak from a place of peace and compassion. And that's, it also has to do with communication. So it also has to do with the eustachian tubes and hearing. So when we can be at peace as we hear, and not be defensive, and be sure that we really fully hear what the other person is saying beyond their words.
Absolutely.
I love
how about the heart? Oh, sorry. How about the heart?
The heart is I usually go to Geranium, the oil of love and trust, and just to, love and trust your journey and yourself, and, to really know that you have to love and trust the whole journey that you're on in life and in your day and your practice.
Perfect. I love that. How about you, Robin?
And I used motivate, because I wanted to encourage them to be motivated from their heart, from what they love, and to get connected with what they love, and to work on moving forward with that love.
That's beautiful. Life. Yeah, that's those emotion oils, man.
I'm so gonna try those, Robin. That's such a good idea.
Oh, that's a fabulous idea. All right, how about the solar plexus?
So that is, slightly above your navel and has to do with self-confidence and self-esteem. And so I use grapefruit, and it's the oil of honoring your body. So I love that idea of, the honoring of your body. And, when you do that, you create confidence and self-esteem and self-worth, and, try to get rid of any of those negative vibrations that may sway you the other way. So grapefruit is usually my go-to for that one.
I love that. How about you, Robin?
I used cheer, because that's our center of strength and vitality. And so we want to keep that as our happy place. And, I always encourage people to keep their power center open. And when we deal from a place of joy and happiness and cheer, then we try to balance the chakras. So it's basically our ego And we want that to be a healthy ego, one that is accepting and affirming of others rather than a power, a power play.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So it's that balancing it out and finding the joy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, how about the sacral?
So the sacral is located, right below the navel. And it's, has to do with authentic creation. And so a lot of times I use cypress for the sort of motivation and flow because it's the authentic creation part of it. So I want the right motivation and energy being used to create and be the most creative that you can be. And, sometimes it's good to sort of put an uplifting oil with it. But usually cypress, is uplifting for me because I love it. But I know, sometimes you can mix like a little wild orange or something in it with it too.
Perfect. I love that. And I have a feeling I know which one you're going to say, Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah, passion. Because it's our chakra of sexuality and creativity. So
Absolutely.
it's about finding that passion in our relationships, but also in our interests in life and the things that we create. So passion.
I love that. That's perfect.
I love that. I'm so trying it.
So our last one is the root chakra.
So the one that I love is Arborvitae, and Arborvitae has always spoken to me. It's another one of my sort of go-tos for a lot of stuff, but it's the oil of divine grace. And it's for me, it's very balancing. It's very sort of detoxing of anything negative, and starting at your base. You want to have that balance and that grounding support. And so I love the way Arborvitae does that for me.
I love that. How about you, Robin?
I used forgive because getting grounded is largely based in forgiving those who we deem have wronged us and forgiving ourselves for allowing anything negative into our life, and getting back to a place of, kind of a place of returning to the womb, of beginning again, fresh.
Beautiful. Well, that's fabulous. That's by itself. All of that is some great notes and application that we can take home with us. So I want to shift gears just a little bit and move into kind of integrating doTERRA into our yoga practice as a business, and helping to bring on new clients that way, and also how to bring on maybe even potential builders, and connecting it all together as your doTERRA grows as well. So let's start with, I know, Robin, you had some great insights and ideas on how you integrate the oils into a class, like an intro to oils class, basically, while you're doing a yoga class. Can you share a little bit about what that looks like?
The main key to me is just being in touch with my students, being available to them on a personal basis and one-on-one, even if we're in a group, to address their individual needs. And so just listening to them and respond.
You mentioned giving them a wild orange or a sample with a magazine. Is that something you do before the class happens, or when they arrive, or how does that work?
I kind of go with the flow. So, it may be when someone arrives and maybe they're the first one to arrive, and maybe they share with me a bit from their day or what's going on in their life. Sometimes they'll share something throughout the class, and sometimes it's in those moments after class. Someone will kind of hang back so they can talk to me. So for me, the key was just being accessible and available to them.
That's neat. Do you do any oil education during your yoga classes, or is that something that comes with a follow-up later after they've kind of experienced the oils in your yoga class?
They'll have some basic experience of the oils being in the center, and then I always keep an essential oil class on the schedule.
Cool.
And so I'll just say, you know, you may be interested in coming to learn more about the oils and how you can integrate them into your life, so that you can make an informed decision about how you want to integrate them into your life and what will work for you.
So the yoga class is more of an exposure opportunity and not necessarily an intro to oils class. It's an opportunity for them to experience and be exposed to the oils, and then refer them to an intro to oils class later. I love that. Jen, do you have anything to add?
And also at the end of the emotions and essential oil class, what I did is I'm doing some free aroma touch treatments. So I offered free aroma touch treatments so that I would have another chance to connect with them. And so that's working out well.
Absolutely. Talk about an experience, you know, giving them that experience. That's amazing. Jen, do you have anything else to add?
You know, usually when I work with a studio or a yoga instructor, what I do is, a lot of the people don't know me, so I don't have the one-on-one like Robin has with her regular clientele. And so if you're going into places like that, what I like to do is give them something as they walk in. So a drop of wild orange or lemon with water or something, so they experience it before they even go and set up their mat. And you know, diffusing stuff. And then what I like to do is give, you know, like a really quick 101, 5-10 minutes at the beginning of the class. This is what they are, this is what they can do. And, you know, raise your hand if you're against, you know, trying them throughout your practice. And if you're not, then I'd like to do it throughout your practice. And then throughout the practice, I'll use different oils on them. And then just a quick little excerpt of, this is this oil, this is how I'm going to use it, this is why, and that's it. And just keep it short and sweet. And again, it's like, to Robin's point, it's more just introducing them. It's not giving them a whole, you know, education on them. But if you give them a quick 5 minutes in the beginning, this is what they are, this is how they work, you know, you don't have to go into great detail. And then use it throughout the you know, the class. And at the end of the class, you know, have some more water for them, have some lemon samples for them to go home with, to put in their water, and your card to give out, and then always have a backup, you know, classes schedule to give them.
What a beautiful and natural way to introduce them to the oils through their practice. I love that. So Jen, you had a great point about how, you know, how do you actually cold call a yoga studio? How do you go to a studio and say, hey, I would like you to experience these essential oils? What does that look like?
So the first thing I do is I try to drop off a diffuser. And so I drop off a diffuser with a couple different samples. And I say, I really want to introduce you to these, but before I even tell you anything, here are, you know, some samples of stuff. Here's a diffuser. I want you to keep it for 2 days, see how your mood is, tell me how you feel. Here's some deep blue, you know, etc. I'll give them a whole bunch of samples and ask how many, you know, instructors they have, to make sure that I have enough for all the instructors to try first. And then 2 days later, I always go back and I say, you know, how'd you like it? And the majority of the time, you always get great feedback. And I say, listen, you know, I'd love for free to give you, you know, to integrate this into one of your classes. You know, like, would you like me to integrate it? And, you know, I say it for free because that sounds really amazing. And I'll say, you know, I would love to just give it to you for free and come and do one of your classes and sort of show you how to integrate it into your practice. And then I can always follow up with one-on-one. And I also say, if you'd like me to just give all your instructors and yourself, or the, you know, owner of the studio, you know, a quick half-hour class, I'm happy to do it. So if there's a time when you guys all get together for, you know, your monthly meetings or whatever, let me, you know, give me 15 minutes on the floor and I'll just give you a quick background and see if any of you guys are interested in following up with it. And they usually take you up on the free class. You know, that's, you know, that sounds, I don't know.
It's free.
Yeah, it's free. Who doesn't like free? My 9-year-old goes, oh, jump all over free stuff.
Totally. I love the diffuser idea because it requires you to come back,
Yeah.
and it gives them that opportunity to experience it while you're away from it, and let them in a natural setting. That's neat. So when they enroll, say that they're ready to enroll or ready to integrate them into their practice, what does that actually look like as far as enrolling them? Do they enroll with a business account and sell retail? Do you present the business opportunity? What does that look like?
You know, the yoga instructors that I've signed up and had interest with, they want to use it for their own practice most of the time. But what happens is they get a huge following that also want more information on it. So that's what the door opens. And then, you know, you hope that you find some people who want to do it as the business and stuff. But for me, I go in just being genuine, that this has changed my life and my practice. And that's what I'm going to sell. I'm not selling, hey, you need to be a builder, you need to do this. What I'm selling is, this is amazing, and this really works, and this helps in your practice. It really helps in your practice. And I think that when you come from a genuine place like that, and you really want to introduce them to something that is going to make them feel better, and everybody feel better in their practice, and then they're going to want to, continue it in their life. And that's sort of how I go into it, is getting the instructors to use it personally. And then what they want you to do is come back and teach other classes in different studios that they teach. And then you get this sort of, you get a lot more users than you do builders, but those builders sneak in sometimes, and you're like, whoa, where'd that person come from? And so that to me is the fun of it. It's, I do it because I really do think that people who practice yoga just need it. It's like having kids. You just need it.
Totally. And I think they can feel that. I think they can feel what perspective you're coming in from. If you're coming in feeling like, I really care about, you experiencing this in a powerful way that has changed my life, versus I really want you to sign up and help make my business stronger. Right. I think that's that.
Right.
So that's awesome. Robin, do you have anything else to add?
Yes. I was thinking about how, I try to let people kind of think outside the box of, if someone is interested in the oils and using them, then maybe they're an accountant. So diffusing the oils in their office can calm their clients, as they're going through tax season or that sort of thing. I mentioned that On Guard is the protective lens, so it even protects against toxic energies. So if you work with someone who has toxic energy, it's good to have a lot of people like that. So I try to help them to realize that they can integrate them into what they do, that you don't have to be a yoga studio owner in order to have an easy way to integrate the oils into your current business situation or lifestyle. If you're at home, I talk about how to integrate them with their children, or if they love pets, I did up a pet protocol video, PowerPoint, to help people, someone who worked for Paws and someone who worked at Petco, that kind of thing.
It sounds like the main message is what you both have articulated, is meet them where they're at and what their needs are. I love that. Well, before we close and end our panel today, is there anything else that you would like to add that you feel like our audience could benefit from?
I think just be authentic. Be authentic. Come from a place that you mean, and if yoga is something that you're passionate about, it will come out, and people will want to catch on because it's authentic and because they know that you're coming from a place to really help and share.
That's beautiful.
When you're using the oils for yourself, then it shows, and people see that, and they want to know what it is you've got.
Right.
And so then you can express that the essential oils have changed my life, just as yoga had changed my life. And and I tell people that the essential oils, to me, are an even greater gift than yoga. And, you know, and they just go beautifully together. So, and, you know, I thought enough of yoga to start sharing it when I was 13 and still be sharing it, you know, almost 50 years later. So this is something really important.
It is. Well, that's so powerful. We so appreciate both of you here, Jen and Robin, for sharing your wisdom and your experience with us. I think it's been really valuable today. So with that, we'll go ahead and close. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at youreomovement@gmail.com. And again, thank you so much for Jen and Robin. We feel that this has been such an uplifting evening, being able to get to know a little bit more about yoga and essential oils. So with that, we'll go ahead and end and say good night. Thank you so much.